After reading the case of Queen versus Dudley, there are many ethical questions that come to mind. Aristotle explained the ethics behind the case in the following excerpt. With regard to the things that are done from fear of greater evils or for some noble, it may be debated whether such actions are involuntary or voluntary. Something of the sort happens also with regard to throwing of goods overboard in a storm. For in the abstract, no one throws goods over voluntarily, but on condition of its securing the safety of himself and his crew, any sensible man does so. Such actions are more likely voluntary actions, for they are worthy of choice at the time when they are done so, and the end of an action is relative to the occasion. On some actions, praise indeed is not bestowed, but forgiveness is. When one does what he ought to under pressure, which overstains human nature and which no one could withstand. But some acts, perhaps, we cannot be forced to do, but ought rather to face death after the most fearful sufferings. In this excerpt, Aristotle explains that it's hard to decipher what is right or wrong when faced with the possibility of harm, or in the case of the Queen versus Dudley, death. This does not, however, excuse the murder of a human being, so that one individual may have the chance to survive. If we made it so that murder was excused because the situation called for it, our world would honestly be in great danger. And I believe that people would take advantage of this. The men on board the ship had been without food and water for days, and they knew the only way they would survive was by killing one of their own and resorting to cannibalism. I don't believe murder and cannibalism was anything any of these men wanted to do, but they believed that was their last resort, or they would have died. And they decided over cannibalism over death. The three men involved in the killing and eating the body must have known when they were rescued that they would face consequences, but made that choice. Would you choose to stay alive with a prison sentence if it meant killing an innocent person? Or would you decide to die from starvation or have a small chance of living if a lifeboat came? And you wouldn't end up with a guilty conscience. This is the type of questions I assume these men asked themselves before they murdered the boy and ate it. Dudley and Stevens were definitely the masterminds of the decision to kill the boy. Brooks wanted nothing to do with the whole ordeal from the beginning, although he did take part in the cannibalism after the other two men killed the boy. Maybe Brooks was scared or really believed it was wrong, but the fact that he ate the boy tells us that it wasn't a question of morals for him. Brooks chose life over death, and he chose to join in on the cannibalism, even if he did think it was wrong. He knew that was the only way that he could survive. Brooks wasn't charged in the murder, but he did have a part in it. He was an accessory to the crime, and the court didn't believe he did anything wrong. Necessity should never be a defense for why someone committed murder. It would have been different if the boy had given up his life to save the others on the boat, but that was not the case. Dudley and Stevens assumed that Parker would not survive, so used this reasoning to justify the murder. That does not make it right, however. Parker might have survived if a boat had shown up the next day. They didn't know that he was going to automatically die. No one will ever know, and he never had that chance.